Hi, and welcome to Real Thoughts and Conversations here on the Leon Thomas Group. We're coming back. We're bringing this back because the world is starting to get a little out of hand, and it has been the last couple of years. But today, we're going to talk about the Charlie Kirk situation, right?
Yes,
So,
indeed.
as some of you may not know, Charlie Kirk has passed 2 weeks as of tomorrow. He was deleted from here on the campus of Utah Valley, and all because he used his freedom of speech. Now here at Real Thoughts and Conversation, I want everybody to realize something. Our opinions are our opinions. They are not facts. We're not siding with anybody. We're just giving our side of what we believe is going on. Okay? So I want to start out with my first question. When it comes to this Charlie Kirk situation, what is your overall basis about just how it happened? Maybe how it started up, maybe the buildup of it, maybe how it ended, maybe how people took it on social media. So what was your whole thing about this whole Charlie Kirk situation?
So I'll speak for myself, right? Since it's right now, it's just you and I until Leon gets in here. Hello, everyone. For me, I'll say this much, Anthony. I was taken by it, man. I thought it was quite extremely unfortunate. A young man voicing his opinion in regards to faith, family, and also his political perspective. So it's real. And I know where you and I have such a difference in age, where I always say I'm knocking at 50. It's where my perspective is
Yeah.
so different when I look at a young man at 31 years old to be as bold as he was for his faith, his family, and his country. And to have whoever it was, we'll say that because right now with so many things going on in the news that they're conspiracy theory in regards to who it was and all of that type of stuff. So I'll just say this much: it was an extreme unfortunate event that took place by way of someone who was really just trying to have a conversation, trying to get people with differences of opinions to come together and share what it was that they thought about different topics. So that's my take. Mind you, like I said, I was extremely familiar with Charlie, but not to the degree of where since the last 2 weeks, it's required me to delve a lot more into who he was and really what it was that Turning Point, his program, was about. Program, his whole entire business was about. But I want to hear your perspective because I'll tell you this much. For me, I'll be able to bounce off of what it is that I hear you share because you're closer to his age and his generation. And I'm assuming, right? You're somewhere in your early 20s, mid 20s,
Yeah,
right?
I'm 24, about to be
24. Okay.
25 in December.
Okay, so you're part of his particular generation. So what was your take on it? And you threw out a handful of different things, but I would like to hear what you would have to say in regards to it, and then I'll chime in and follow your lead on that. But like I said, for starters, I thought it was extremely unfortunate. But I like a lot of what's happening in regards to where people, especially us as Christians, we're realizing that what's coming out of this is a revival. What's coming out of this is a lot of people are stepping back up to the plate. I was listening to someone earlier today. It might have been Tucker Carlson. I don't know who it was, but it was saying that, people are realizing and returning back to so much of what it was that they chose to walk away from. To see this young man represent his, as I keep saying, his faith, his family, and his country in such a stand-up way. For me, I mean, how can we not salute it? Now, mind you, that's also me speaking as a conservative as well, a Christian first, but so I don't want to seem as though I'm only biased because, being of the same party, but I just say that to say, it was extremely bold of him and extremely, just monumental. You don't see a person like him come around so much to be able to stand on what he knows to be the truth. But like I said, I don't want to keep rambling. I want to hear what you have to say.
Now, what I think about the situation, I think about this whole Charlie Kirk situation. I think what it had to do was with his obviously his entire view on sensitive topics. If you get what I'm saying,
I totally get what you're saying.
pretty much his whole message of from what I've seen,
Mhm.
from what I've seen, what Charlie Kirk was sharing, I think he wanted to bring together like unity in the country, and he
Mhm.
wanted to challenge anybody on their thought process on the major problems in America. Like
Mhm.
he wanted to talk about the economy. He wanted
Mhm.
to talk about any racial issue that everybody keeps bringing up. He wants to talk about like how we can build a better economy. He wants to talk about the mortality rate with infants and how we can minimize abortion. He wants to talk about, okay, well, you guys as college students, you guys are doing this, you guys are doing this, but here's how you can get better. Here's how you can do this, but I don't think you should do this because this will happen. Now, obviously, he leaned on the red side, heavily on the red side, and he was Charlie was really just he really just did what he loved, you know, and I can't hate him for that. Even though he was exercising his First Amendment, which I said on the previous podcast, he was exercising his First Amendment, his freedom of speech, and he literally went and debated people of no matter how old they were, no matter who it was, he was debating them. And he wanted to talk about, okay, so what's your thought on racism? What's your thought on white privilege? Because they would come up with questions and they'll literally throw anything at them. And in the videos that I've seen Charlie Kirk have, some of the videos that I've seen, it was just the students or whoever's up at the mic just throwing insults at him, just being completely ignorant and just making fun of him, saying, "Oh, but you believe in this, but you," and then they question him, and then they don't give him a chance to respond, and then they walk away thinking they won. And it's like that's very, very ignorant of you, because he just wants to debate you. He wants to see where your mind is. He wants to see where your whole thought process is and how you think of the country. And you're over here just trying to make fun of him.
Well, it shows you. I always say it goes. And let me chime in real quick. It shows you that a lot of times people aren't really deep thinkers, right? They're not really taking the time to process what it is that they're receiving. You know, I always think about, like, I have a particular scripture that's one of my favorites. It's James 1:19. Be quick to listen and slow to speak, so that you're slow to anger. And that's the thing, that a lot of times we're not listening. You know, the Lord gave us 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. You know, be quick to listen 2 times quicker than it is that you choose to speak, so that you can have more of an understanding of what it is that somebody is sharing. And you can beg to differ, you can disagree, but the days and times of removing feelings and emotions out of the way is kind of long gone. But hopefully we get back to it again. I always say that the texture of human beings of today is extremely sensitive, and I'm meaning texture as far as feelings. We should be able to have conversations. We should be able to voice our opinion and share our perspective, and whoever it is on the opposite end of who we're talking to can just be open to listen. I always say that it's okay to disagree, right? We should be able to agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, to your point, Anthony, where we saw so much that would be thrown back. And mind you, like I said, I was familiar with him, but because life is happening, hadn't really tuned in as much as of lately. So with all that just transpired, it required me to go back, and I had to listen to some of his, and I like to call them conversations. Granted, I know they were debates, but the platforms of what it was that he was presenting and on the stages of such, that at the particular universities, he was meeting young people at a transitional period in their lives where they were going from, if you really think about this, and you're not too far, if I remember, graduating from college, right? So think about when you graduate from high school, right? Coming from underneath of the umbrella of your parents, or the foundation of what it is your parents put in place. And you're now having an opportunity to step out on the new platform where you have some sense of form of freedom, right? Freedom of thought, freedom of choice, freedom of decision making, without your parents, depending upon however you were parented, to have to say yes or no. So to me, where he was, let's just say, challenging people to get a chance to see where people's perspectives were now, mind you, like you said, it was a bunch of different people. It was some adults, but a lot of college students, to the angle of where they would come from with their questions. To your point, it was just throwing stuff. Really had no substance, really wasn't coming from anywhere strong. Doesn't mean that some of them weren't, but it was such from an emotional place, right? Such from a place of wanting to feel accepted, so to speak, very much from an entitled place. And like I said, I'm from a different era, man. So all of that stuff to me goes out the window. I mean, you can have feelings, but at the end of the day, nobody really cares. Once you become an adult, nobody cares about how you feel. you know what I mean? When you think about, doesn't mean no one cares, but it really, at the end of the day, it doesn't make or break anybody else's life when you feel like what it is that you think that you should be able to do and or say, everybody should agree with it. But go ahead. I'm sorry, man. I knew you had something.
Yeah, I actually wanted to build off of your point, saying that when they didn't have anything to say, they just wanted to attack him. I know earlier you were talking about James 1:19, and you kept going back to his faith. So that was a part of Charlie's whole message, is that he wanted to bring love and unity into America. But people of different religious backgrounds, people don't believe in that, and that's totally fine. It's okay to not disrespect, but to disagree with somebody. If like the most famous debate, the most famous debate on my side of the generation, do pineapples belong on pizza? Some people say, most people will say no. Some people will say yes. Some people will be like, if you like pineapples on your pizza, you're weird. Yeah, like you're weird. You don't do this. You do this. You do this. Yada yada yada. If you don't like pineapples on your pizza, you never experienced it. You never had this. You never had this.
Yeah,
I think Charlie with that person doesn't put it all in like a real example.
I get it. Charlie
was that kind of person that said, hey, you know what? I like pineapples on my pizza. And literally looked you dead in the face and would ask you, now give me a good reason why I shouldn't like it. If you don't have a reason, then I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should like it. And then when their mental's being attacked, their intellect being attacked, now they got to be on the defensive and be like, oh, well, you don't have real taste buds. You don't have this. You don't have this. You're such a this person. And now they're calling him all these different labels and all these different names. Now, coming back to what he actually did, what he actually talked about, he just liked to touch on sensitive subjects. Yeah, and people disagree with him. But I think the bigger picture is when people disagreed with him, they were looking at who he affiliated with. And then who how should I say this? Who he affiliated with, and how he was perceived through everybody else. Because
explain.
I don't know. I don't know
further
if you saw like social media.
I don't do social media. I have no social media. So go ahead. Say elaborate. Give me more. Tell me more.
Oh yeah. I understand. So it's like on social media after he died, right? The fly in my room. I'm sorry, but after he died, the whole thing was the way that Charlie Kirk died and how people perceived him. It was literally 2 sides of social media. One side was celebrating that he died and calling him all these names, saying he's this. People celebrating and say, you know what? Hey, Charlie Kirk is gone. I'm about to go to the store, buy some ribs, and throw a party. Hey, Charlie Kirk is gone. I'm about to go dance with everybody in the street. Like, that part, when I saw that, I was like, that's not right. Even though if you didn't agree with what he said and what he talked about, that's still a human being. He's still a father. He's still a husband. He's no different than anybody else that you know that has that same title of whoever. It doesn't matter what he did. It's not like he did anything physical. All he did was use his words to talk to people. And nobody, I don't say nobody, but most people out there are too afraid to do that. He was, like you said earlier, he was bold enough to go to campuses and talk about the uncomfortable problems in America, but nobody was willing to listen.
Not at all.
So can you really hate on him for that?
Well, I'll say this much. You ought not, right?
I would never hate on anybody that's doing something that they love and telling you, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and do something real quick. Let me go ahead and bring up all these problems that you experience, or maybe that's going on in the world around you that you don't see. But hey, you know what? You can't talk about this because you've never been through it. Hey, you know what? You're right. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not saying these are facts, but it's just my opinion.
Yeah. And we all are entitled. Let me say this real quick. And that's the thing that I find that in this modern day, man, people forget everyone is entitled to their opinion, right? And everyone should be able to be, and I'm going to use the term respected, but very, very lightly for what their opinion is. Now, mind you, there will be times of where we will be met with adversity when it comes to having our opinion or a difference of opinion, I'll say. But you were saying something that kind of struck a chord, and I wanted to ask you a question. In your particular generation and era, have you all heard the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never hurt me? Have you ever heard that before?
Oh yeah, I heard. Yeah,
Okay.
I heard that
Okay.
all the time when I was younger.
Okay, so I asked that question because now, mind you, I'm 70s, right? So I'm way back. There was a period of time where you bet not come home and tell your parents somebody hurt your feelings by something that was said to you. If somebody didn't put their hands on you, or somebody didn't physically put something to you, words, you better let them roll off your back. Period. Right? Now, what's so interesting to me is how that has changed in the modern day. It's flip-flop. It's where people let people's words hurt their feelings, and then in turn they want to respond physically, such as what would happen to him. And for me, like I said, as I'm a lot older than you, not a whole lot, but you get where I'm going. It makes no sense to me, because what it does is it affects the ability to be able to have a conversation, and going into the conversation, understanding that the opposite person may have a difference of an opinion, and that two people, even if it's more than two people, should be able to dialogue. Listen, like I said, 2 ears. You're given two. God gave us 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. We should listen 2 times more than we speak, and be able to just sit and say, okay, you know what? Never thought about it like that. Okay. And come out of that saying, you know what? I appreciate that. No matter if you agree, if you disagree. But I always say what has happened in this modern day, and mind you may have heard this also saying, and when I say this, I'm not throwing shade or shot at you or your generation. I'm just speaking to how it is I see it as a parent of your generation, because I got kids your age, right? That you all have come up with the generation of where everybody gets a trophy. Everybody wins. Nobody loses. That's not life. There will be some people that lose. There will be some people that win. Discipline and hard work puts you in one position. And it also doesn't mean that all of the work you put in means that you're going to get what you expect. But where I'm getting at with that is, when you find somebody that wants to just have a conversation about whatever it is that either you may bring up or they may bring up, and find out that within that conversation there's a difference of an opinion, once you find that you're losing, right, air quotes, so to speak, throwing low blows and jabs and trying to insult, it really speaks to the lack of integrity. So that's why I wanted to go at real quick to throw at you and ask you, where is it that you see integrity, and how do you see integrity viewed in your generation?
If we're being honest, I don't see integrity a lot in my generation, because my generation, instead of integrity, I would say ignorance and arrogance. I would say my generation, it's like a lot of my generation didn't like him only because of the views that he had, only because of the people he affiliated with. Now, there.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't know why my mic just shut off. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. There was a few people like in my generation that there's a few people in my generation that they actually understand and they know like what he was talking about and where he was going. Now, whether they agree with him, that doesn't matter. But with my generation, it's like we got our feelings hurt because maybe he talked about us but wasn't directed to us, if that makes sense. Like maybe he was talking about
that. I want to hear that more.
He was talking about the Black community. Yeah. He was talking about single motherhood. He was talking about people in low economic families and low economic areas. And he was talking about student loans and financial problems. He was talking about abortion. He was talking about all this gun violence and gun laws. He was talking about how do we get them and why do we get them and for what reason, and all the violence and crime rates everywhere. Maybe he was definitely talking about our generation, but he wasn't pointing it directly to us because he wanted to get the big picture of not just a certain area. Like maybe he wasn't talking to New York City. He was talking about the whole East Coast. Maybe he wasn't talking about LA. He was talking about the whole West Coast. Maybe he wasn't talking about the red side or the blue side. He was talking about us as a whole, us as a society. And he definitely tried to bring us together, but we didn't want to listen. We worried more on how we felt,
Mm.
how we took it, and does he have an answer? We know, we see the problem, but does he have an answer? But instead of really giving an answer, he just told us about ourselves. Like same way if you tell a friend, hey, I don't like the way you do this because that's what make you this. Or like maybe if you have like a lady best friend, right? Or like you have a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, and she says, hey, honey, does this dress make me look fat? And you say, you know what? I think your stomach pokes out a little bit and your figure is a little bit out of shape. So I would change it. You don't say that. You definitely have that thought in your head and you keep it to yourself. But Charlie Kirk would be like, you know what? That dress does you look fat, but here's how you can make it better. Now, my generation, in this example, I want
to make sure I'm understanding. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So my generation is the girl in this sense. She hears that, yes, she is fat in the dress, but she's not hearing the solution to how to make it better.
Okay.
She we want to hear what we think we want to hear. We want to hear what we deserve to hear. We want to hear solutions on how we can be better as a generation, but instead we were just being told about ourselves.
Okay. I like this. So I like this, man, because it's interesting that what I'm hearing you say, and I'm not trying to change the words, is that you all feel as though that he was speaking to the issue, but not presenting a solution. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So because from a lot of the videos that I saw, he did talk about like Black community and the crime rates and how we can, and maybe some things we can do better. But a lot of it was just telling us about ourselves. But maybe I missed that part, but I didn't see or hear a lot of the solution that he had.
Okay, so here's what's great about this conversation you and I are having, because we represent two different generations, right? I'm Generation X, right? What are you all, millennials? I don't know. Somewhere in the Generation Z. X?
I have no idea. I never pay attention to all that stuff.
We're about 30 years difference in age, right? Give or take 25. Anyway, where I'm getting to is this. The older you get, the more you understand that there will be times of where information will be presented to you, right? And that it's your responsibility to do your due diligence to find the solution, right? Now, I'll give you all the benefit of the doubt in your generation. And that's why I spoke about it earlier. You all are just a little bit out of being fully dependent upon your parents, right? So when and if a conversation is created, a platform is created, and someone is giving you statistics, right? Not really trying to tell you about yourself, but presenting statistics, presenting information that anybody can Google and find out. Because you guys are still closer to being a dependent, and I'm going to use the term a child. Don't take any offense to this, but you'll see where I'm going at with this. You're expecting.
I understand.
When I say you, I don't mean you as far as Anthony, but you all are expecting somebody to also give you the solution, just like your mom or your dad did. But what he was doing was, and this is my opinion, doesn't mean I'm right, but what he was doing was actually acknowledging you all as young adults. You are now in college. You are now in a position to represent yourself. So now let's have a conversation about some things that are going on around the country and some things that maybe even been going on around in the world. What are your thoughts? Right? So this is where I think sometimes some of what it was he was saying was missed. And mind you, like I said, I just delved a little more deeper into what it was that his whole movement was about as of within the past couple of weeks. But I like the fact that here's a young man, didn't step foot on a college campus to take any courses that I understand, right? Doesn't have a degree, right? But he stepped foot on a college campus to challenge young people to get a chance to see where was it that they stood and stand, and where is it that they want to see themselves taking steps in a direction, right? Sparking thought, to me, is how I interpret a lot of what his mission was from that standpoint. But going back to your point, with the expectation of being provided a solution, a child expects a solution to be provided for them, right? When you wake up, you expect that the lights are going to be on, the water's going to be running, food is going to be in the refrigerator, we're going to have a house to sleep in. But once you become an adult, you come to a place and point in time in your life where you realize it's your responsibility to make sure those things are happening. So I'm just saying that to say that's something that comes in time and comes with age, to where one gains an understanding that, okay, you know what, where somebody can meet me at a place of sharing their opinion about something, or just facts, right? Just statistics. And if I get offended, what actually am I offended by? What is it that is offensive about what they said? Just because I don't agree, or just because it was something? Watch this, because maybe it was true, right? But at the end of the day, it's just a conversation, real thoughts and conversations, right? What the show is about. So we should be able to have
real thought. Hey, look, we on real thoughts and conversation, man. We're resurrecting this podcast for this reason. Because I think with Charlie Kirk having his own podcast, having the Charlie Kirk show, I think this is a little bit like the Charlie Kirk show. It's just him just sitting here talking about whatever he wants to talk about, the real problems, and he wants to have real thoughts and conversations.
Pretty much. Couldn't have said it any better. And that's the thing where if we should be able to get to a place. I won't even say get back to a place, but get to a place of where we should be able to share, watch this, our real thoughts and have a conversation. And people be able to be responsible and respectful, right? With integrity and dignity, to be able to listen, like I said earlier, 2 times more than they speak, and understand that what they hear may be different from what they believe and what they think, but not be so easily offended. But I want to go into something if you don't mind, for a minute, where you heard me speaking about it earlier.
Yeah.
In regards to what it was that I have come to find that he was representing, and this is where I really stand with the young man, although he's not here anymore, but his movement was faith, right? And family and politics. But I want to speak about the faith component. What his whole mission was, from my little bit of understanding, is that he wanted to see America get back to a place of where family was what it was that we prided ourselves in. Faith was what it was that we prided ourselves in. And then in turn, what it was, and from a political standpoint of where it is that those things can happen. And because he may had an angle that many people disagreed with, they would disregard what it was that he was saying that really could be of benefit to just listen to. And that's the thing that I say a lot of times, man, that when we don't like something that we hear, we turn off the light switch, right? We no longer listen. We check out. When really that's the moment where we should check in, right? We should tune in. We should say, okay, let me see where this individual is coming from. Now, keep in mind, I'm older than you. So with years lived, maturity happens. Now, mind you, I don't even know why I'm even saying this, because that young man was only 31. So he was light years ahead of many of us.
Yeah.
Right. So really age means nothing if we really want to put it in perspective. But I'm just saying it from a standpoint on the longer that you live, and if it's that you really mature along your journey of life, you'll get to a place and realize, man, listen, life is an amazing experience to be a part of. There are going to be people that have difference of opinions, different perspectives, ways of living. But the number one thing is this: I ought to be able to respect you and accept what it is that you share. And you do the same for me, but do not feel as though that you have to press upon me what it is that you think that I should do. And that's, to me, what I think some of what was happening sometime in the conversations, people were missing, that he was really just trying to have a conversation. And they were offended. Now, that, like I said, doesn't mean I'm right, man. I haven't been following Turning Point for years, but to the little bit within the past 2 weeks that I've been binge watching, some of the debates or some of the conversations. And I'm like, wow, like, I didn't realize that America was this soft and sensitive. Whatever happened to the Archie Bunkers of the world? You know what I mean? You might not know who Archie Bunker is, man, but to the people of the world, man, it did not wear their feelings on their sleeve. To be able to have a conversation and be able to say, you know what? It's not that deep. It's not that serious, but keep going, man. Keep going, because you're like I said, you're representing a generation that really is coming on the back end, coming from behind his generation. You all are kind of closer in from an age standpoint. What are you feeling? What do you see of what it is that just transpired in this past 2 weeks within our country? Not just from that particular day, but from that day and throughout that day. You said something a minute ago about how people were, for lack of a better word, but celebrating, right? How unfortunate that was, and really looking at it as though it was something to be happy about. So I could say all day long as an old head, right? That was pure ignorance. But what was go a little deeper in what you felt when you saw those things happening?
Well, after I respond to this, there's another part of Charlie Kirk I want to bring up, because it just popped in my mind. But yeah, so funny enough, I was at my back to school night, because I'm a 7th grade math teacher. I was on my back to school night and I saw my phone go off and it said Charlie Kirk was assassinated at the Utah at the Utah Valley campus. I was like, huh? No way. Nah. That Charlie Kirk? Nah, I don't believe so. Then the next morning, or actually, no, not the next morning, when I went home that same night, I started going on Twitter. Or they call it X now, but I'm gonna forever call it Twitter. But I started going on Twitter and I started just scrolling. And the first like 10 or 11 posts I saw was Charlie Kirk has been gone. Charlie Kirk is now like not with us anymore. And this is what happened to him. Why did he do it? And then there were some conspiracy theorists saying, oh, the shooter was planning this a day before because he was like, oh, he's coming to my campus. Just know he's about to be on the news tomorrow. And you know, I think that's kind of wild because the way that I felt it, I was like, I'm actually upset. Like, wow. I felt so upset. I was like, I have to say something. Yeah. Like, I have to make a podcast episode about it. I have to talk about it. But I didn't know how to talk about it without coming off as I support him. I was trying to come off as what they did to him was wrong. I'm not saying what I agree with him with, but the reason why, and then people celebrating it, it made me not like people. It made me not like society because celebrating someone's death is evil. Celebrating someone's death is disgusting. I don't care who it is. Yeah. It's disgusting. Now,
I can't hear you. Can I hear you? I hear you now.
Yeah, I got it now. I don't know why, because I think I slammed my desk and it cut off. But kind of piggyback off of that answer with a lot of people seeing that Charlie Kirk died and having social media, everybody celebrating, everybody talk about all that other stuff. There was a point where, hold on, I gotta find it. There was a point where with Charlie Kirk, oh my God, I gotta refresh my mind. Oh, the cancellations. So with Charlie Kirk dying, there are some people talking about how they got fired from their jobs because they post on social media about this. If you did not see it, there was a social media worker from the Carolina Panthers that lost their job because he posted about Charlie Kirk. He lost his job like that. And the Panthers put out a statement saying, hey, we're sorry for the comments. We're sorry for the inappropriate images. Whoever put that post up has now been dealt with, and they are not tied with this organization any longer. And then I see following videos of other people losing their jobs back to back because they're posting on social media because someone died. No matter what his views were, because someone died, they're posting on social media about it, they're celebrating about it, and they lose their job.
What is your feelings about that?
My feelings about that is I don't think people should have been celebrating in the first place. And I don't think they deserve it. Personally, I think they deserve it. Because if someone would have celebrated a death close to you and that person would have lost their job or something bad would have happened to them, that's called karma. Literally, karma is going to bite you. Like, karma is coming for you. So if you celebrate it and you post on social media about that, that's karma. But the biggest thing, hold on, let me pick about one more thing.
Keep going.
I'm going to say the biggest thing of karma about this. Does everybody know the guy Jimmy? Not Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, the Kimmel show on NBC. Yeah. So he made a joke about Charlie Kirk dying, and shortly after, his show gets canceled. Think about how long Jimmy has been on the air on NBC. and he got canceled off of one joke. Now, some people may not understand it. A lot of people didn't like it, but he got his show got canceled because he was mocking somebody who was talking about free speech. So let me ask you this. Do you think Jimmy deserved it? Or maybe do you think people were too soft and still too sensitive about the topic because he's been on the show for so long? Do you think Jimmy should still have his show, or do you think he was right to be canceled?
So I'll say this, because to my understanding, if I heard correctly, his show was reinstated or something of that nature within either today or yesterday. So I wouldn't say that actually he was fully canceled. I like to use the terminology he was put in timeout, so to speak. Where it's a very interesting kind of playing field to kind of walk into when it comes to the repercussions of a person's actions, right? When it comes to someone voicing their opinion about either something that they either agreed with or disagreed with. So the celebrating component that came in, or the taking jabs and throwing shots at what transpired. Here's the thing: we can clearly cross the board, just use that as a blanket statement to say it's wrong. Right? We could just say it's wrong. But I think the other side of it that we also have to keep in mind, and it goes back to, I think you were saying it earlier, to what is it, the First Amendment, right? Freedom of speech. I think that there are consequences to individuals' actions, right? So if you say to someone that you're happy to have seen someone lose their life, that's pure ignorance. So there's going to be repercussions for that. Jobs are not going to stand behind that, because at the end of the day, we're talking about professionalism. And that's what a lot of people lack today. Granted, you may have the education, you may have somewhat of the know-how to be able to do a job, but 9 times out of 10, you lack integrity, because integrity says that I can have an opinion, but I don't have to voice it. I was listening to somebody earlier today that I'm just going to throw this in. This may kind of seem like it doesn't make sense, but it will to a degree. When I was in school, we didn't know our teachers' political preference or lifestyle preference. They just came to teach. Right? I always say, similar to when it comes to athletes, we didn't know who athletes' wives and families were. When it came to whenever they perform, we just tuned in to watch them play. I think that what has happened with social media is that everybody's life has been put on display. So now people have gotten so ingrained and engrossed in believing that they can share their perspective and be able to have the conversation about how they feel about something, but they miss that there's going to be a repercussion. And I'm just saying a repercussion in regards to from an employer standpoint. You have to remember, if you're not the boss, you can be fired. Period. So when it comes to an opinion, keep it to yourself. Talk amongst your family and friends. Talk amongst somebody with, so all of this fingering pause, all of the fingering stuff in regards to the phones and technology.
I'm glad you caught it before I did, because my generation now. Yeah, I'm like, brother.
I'm just saying, I was saying that to say, man.
But yeah, keep going.
Just feeling like whatever you think and feel, you should be able to express it. You can have it and you can express it, but where do you express it? You have to first think about what your livelihood is. So I want to go in this angle. I think that for a lot of young people, especially a lot, now mind you, Jimmy is a little older, let's just say a lot of people. We won't just say young people, because I don't want to seem like I'm boxing anybody in. But when it comes to the opinions that you have about what you see, forgetting that what your job is and what your job provides you to have is a lifestyle. It provides you currency to be able to take care of yourself and your family. So you have to stop and think for a second. Should I share my perspective and my opinion on a platform that there may be a consequence that comes with it? So that comes back to being able to critically think, process, right? Being able to know what it is that you need to speak to and address, or just let it kind of move by you. Right. So that's why, like you heard me say a little while ago, I don't do social media. And I mind you, some people will say, yeah, you do. You watch stuff on YouTube. Yeah, but I don't get into all of that, whatever, Twitter and Instagram. I don't need to. Look, at the end of the day, I love to have a conversation like this, right? Or a conversation not on camera. But depending upon where someone is, and I won't just say intellectually from an academia standpoint, but just either being someone that has put themselves in a position desiring to learn, right? To explore and to be able to see the world and much more of a vast array of different things happening all at once, to be able to know that, you know what, I can listen and not judge. What's that whole saying that's going? Listen, I hear this on YouTube sometimes. Listen, we don't judge. Whatever that little thing is going on. But you get where I'm going at with it, right? My ADD is kicking in.
Yeah. I know
But
that
you know what I'm
term. We
saying? But it's
listen,
like
but
being
we
able
don't
don't judge, right?
judge.
But being able to listen and being able to know that there will come a time where there will come. Am I saying this right? There will be instances of where people will share things that will rub you the wrong way. But I want to go here, and I was wanting to go here a little bit earlier, but I wasn't sure if it, if the situation presented itself and if it was where we should go into this direction, because I'm following your lead tonight. Maybe another night I'll be but when we get to the faith component, right? And the Bible speaks very much about it is not a fleshly battle that we're at war with, but it's a spiritual battle. And I'm not trying to be preachy, but here's where I want to go. When we think about when we hear people speak truth, what is it that is within someone that gets agitated, right? It's whatever the spirit that lies within them that gets agitated, right? And then in turn wants to respond and react, right? Especially violently, right? So if you think about it, when a person reacts and responds wickedly, with evil, ill intent, what spirit is it that's residing on the inside of them? What spirit is it that is conducting their ship? It clearly isn't the Holy Spirit. It's more of a demonic spirit, right? So if we go into that direction, the reason I wanted to just kind of touch on that right for a second, because mind you, that's the angle I'm always standing on, but I wanted to go there for a minute, because what we're seeing that's happening is this, goes back to this. You can have an opinion. You can have a difference of an opinion, but the angle of such that is spewing it, right? That is lighting that flame up underneath of you to feel as though that it's an acceptable word or approach to have. It's like, let's think about it for a second. Here's a man that just lost his life standing for what he believed in. So somebody, whoever it was, some ignorant individual or group of people, X this man out. He was a husband. He was a father, right? He was a son. He was a representative, not just of a particular party, but of our country that we all reside in. And he was just trying to have a conversation, sharing real thoughts, as our header says. So when we stop for a second and think and ask,
don't forget, he was a follower of Christ. Don't forget that.
Oh, that's top. That's top notch.
He was a follower of Christ.
That's top notch, right?
Yeah.
So we could even look. So if you want to go there, here's the thing. What does the Bible say, man? The Bible says, and what did Christ tell his disciples? They persecuted you. So if they persecute you, know that they persecuted me first. So it comes with being a believer, a true believer, not a lukewarm. What does Marcus Rogers say? Not a casual Christian, right? Because at the end of the day, either you will choose to stand for the Lord or you won't. There is no straddling of a fence. As we see enough of what it is that we were able to see, and because now we can still tune in, he stood for Jesus, man. And that was what it was that he was representing. And that's more to me what I believe is what was ruffling the feathers, ruffling the spirits of what lied within a lot of people. So to me, that's more of what it is that I think transpired. We can get into all of the logistics, going back to, like you said, with Jimmy Kimmel. And hopefully I answered some of your question, because I know I probably put more meat on the sandwich, but but you get what I'm going. But at the end of the day, what it is that I'm saying, man,
I understand. You saved yourself in that sandwich part.
Right? Yeah, there you go. What I'm getting to is that there are consequences, and somebody probably would say, well, what was it? Was it a cause and effect or a consequence for him? Yeah, we could get into that. And for some people, they would say that, but what we're talking about is from a professional standpoint, right? Meaning, like, if you know that, go back to knowing what it is that your job is providing you with currency to live a lifestyle. So if you're willing to sacrifice that just for an opinion, by all means. But don't be mad at your employer when they say, here's your pink slip, or however they fire people nowadays. Right? So that's the thing that I think that many people ought to take from this is, have your opinion, have your perspective, talk amongst your friends and talk amongst whoever it is at the end of the day, where you don't have to get online and share with what your opinion is. That to me is corny. Now, mind you, I know it's the way of the world today, but it's like everybody feels like their opinion should be something that they should share for the masses. I'm come from a different cloth, man. I come from a different era. Whatever you feel and whatever you think, yes, you can share it, but how about first even share it with yourself to see if it even makes sense? Is it even worth putting out there for somebody else to hear? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's better to be kept in between whatever is going on in your own head. So I don't want to go off on a tangent on that.
Yeah. Because how I grew up is sometimes some of your thoughts have to stay in your head. No, I was always told growing up, no question is a stupid question.
Exactly.
But even though there's always like a statement, either a statement or a sentence or whatever that you want to say out loud that would ruffle a lot of feathers and that could get you hurt. Mm-hmm. And that was another thing about Charlie Kirk. That was another thing about Charlie Kirk. He ruffled a lot of feathers with what was in his head. Now, the fact that he was debating about it and he knew so much about it, then you know what I'm saying? That's him. But if he didn't know about the topic, if he wanted to know, he asked him. He wasn't like, "Oh no, I know more than you." No, he really do that.
That's not what I got from whatever it was that I watched.
So right before we wrap up for the night, and once again, I appreciate everybody for coming out and watching this show. But drop down your thoughts below in the comments. What you thought about the Charlie Kirk situation? Did you really pay attention to it? Did it really affect you in a way? Do you understand? Do you not know? You know, just drop down your real thoughts and conversations down in the comment section below. But one more thing before we step out, okay? Now, our president, I'm gonna say your president. Your president is over here to talk about he wants Tylenol to be banned. Personally, I didn't see or hear him make that statement. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know the context. I don't know what made him say that, but there's some sources telling.
Your volume went out again.
This mic is terrible. That my sources are telling me that Trump is saying that Tylenol causes autism.
It's tied
and
to it.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like that is.
No. Why would you say it's stupid? Why would you say it's stupid before having? Let me ask you this: why would you say it's stupid before having done your own research to find out if it actually is true?
The reason why I say it's stupid because a medication, a medicate or a pain relieving medication giving you autism, right? So the way that I think about it is this. I should get me a little segment on here and be like, let's go into Anthony's mind. I think we should do that.
Okay.
Jay, I hope you're listening. We should make that a thing. But I'm going back to being serious. So when it's saying that, when he said that Tylenol causes autism, the way that I think about it is this. Tylenol is kind of like Aleve. They're both pain relieving medicines. So if one relieves pain and could cause autism, then what about Aleve? What about Aleve? What about Advil? What about ibuprofen or any other pain relieving medication? Is it only Tylenol that's causing autism? And really, what made him say that? What sources and what research did he do for him to say that? Does he have somebody that says, "Hey, you know what? This control group took Tylenol. This control group took, let's say, like another like pain relieving medicine." And over a course of time, maybe those Tylenol people, the people who took the Tylenol, they actually developed a little bit of autism over time. Now, I'm not saying it's instant. I don't know what he means by that, but I'm just going off of what would make sense to me or why he would say that.
Okay.
Now, again, I don't know how he said it. I don't know the context, but this would make sense to me. If he had a control group of these people, right? Obviously, they would be compensated for this project, but he would give them Tylenol for any pain they're having. And over time, they would develop small doses or small traits of autism.
Okay.
And maybe he would use that to say, "Hey, you know what? Now we're banning autism Now we're banning Tylenol for everybody. Now Tylenol can't be sold in stores. It can't be prescribed to doctors. It can't do any of that."
Okay.
So that's just my thoughts.
right.
That's what makes sense to me. Now, again,
Okay.
I don't know what he said. I don't know how he brought it up, but
Yeah.
that's what would make sense to me.
Okay, so I love it. So here's the thing, and because you and I both we're not as totally familiar about that particular topic, that was something that Jay threw on the table for us to kind of touch on a little bit. Look, I'm all night with the pauses, right?
Yeah.
But you get where I'm going at, man. At the end of the day, I want to do a little bit more research. As I chimed in as you were talking, I said, well, what would make you what would make you say that he was stupid or that was a stupid decision to make? But mind you, you shared your opinion. What I would say is to anybody, when we hear something, let's do our own due diligence, right? And let's find out what it is that our president has shared. Where is it coming from, right? Who in the background has provided the information for him to come to that conclusion? Now, that to me would put us all on a journey of seek and find, right? From that angle. Now, here's another sample. Here's another side of the coin. So I throw this on the table. Now, mind you, you're 24, so this may not be something that you would have been able to see it
yes.
over a span of time. But I'll say this much. I know this without having done much research, and I want to do some research, and I would love for us to retackle this this particular topic either next week or sometime in the near future. But the numbers within autism or the spectrum, so to speak, has grown tremendously in the modern day. So over the past maybe 20 to 30 years, the amount of people who are diagnosed with autism has skyrocketed. Now, I'm not saying it's because of Tylenol. I don't know. Haven't done any research, but I know, mind you, let's say this. I don't know. But when I was a kid, maybe it was that more of us weren't take it to the doctor and test it or diagnose, whatever the case may be. So that could have been the reason. But what I'm getting to is that's the first thing came to my mind. I thought about how many people in today's time do I hear them say that their children or two of their children have autism or either are on the spectrum, or how many people that they know. So that's the first thing came to my mind. And when I heard it, and I said, I wonder, could that be tied to it? I didn't go into thinking off top, that's stupid. Not knocking you because you said, I'm just saying. For me, I didn't go into thinking that was what would make him say that. It put me in a position to say, I want to know more. So here's where I'm going at. That's to me what I think, that whenever we hear something that we might not agree with, we ought to ask ourselves, why? Where did that come from? Let me go do my due diligence to learn more so that I'm more informed and more educated to have that to be what backs my opinion versus just blurt out my opinion by way of what I disagree that I hear. Now, like I said, not saying that that's just you, but what goes back to even our initial topic or conversation in regards to Charlie, in regards to a lot of the young people or anybody that would get into the debates with him. Many people don't stop to think and ask themselves, where is it that this individual is coming from, and what is it that they would like for me to learn and or receive from what they're saying? That's why I said, and I go back to it again, just in my closing from my end, is why James 1:19 is one of my top 5 favorite scriptures, man. Be quick to listen and slow to speak so that you're slow to become angry. That's the thing that many people of today lack. They don't listen 2 times more than they speak, which is why they become angry. So I would say, as a takeaway for tonight's show from my end to your audience, and thank you for letting me join you, is that choose to tune your ears in 2 times more than you want to speak. Listen before feeling like you have gathered a response to have when somebody says something that you don't like. Just listen. Now, once you've heard, and if you still disagree, cool, then speak to it. But allow yourself to hear them out first and watch how, if you approach it from that way, from that scripture, you'll 9 times out of 10 be less to become angry, if that word even makes sense, right? Become angry less, you get where I'm going, right? Agitated or irritated. And find that
makes sense.
You know what I mean? And find that at the end of the day, we all are entitled to our own opinion. And all it is that we ought to be seeking to have is a conversation with real thoughts. So that's just my 2 cents, 22 cents, as I like to say, man. So throw it back to you. It's your show, brother.
Hey, look. That just put the name of the show, Real Thoughts and Conversations. I really appreciate your thought, the process, and your perspective on everything. I know it's getting it's getting late and we all got work in the morning. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in for tonight's episode of Real Thoughts and Conversations. What was your biggest thing about tonight's episode? Was it about Charlie Kirk? Was it about how he died, when he died, the world afterwards, was the aftermath of him, or maybe was it Trump saying that Tylenol causes autism? What was your biggest thing or biggest takeaway from tonight's show? You remember, your thoughts matter and your conversations will be heard. So, everybody, have a blessed night. Have a good one. Peace out, guys.